prosecution outlined how accounting practices did not.
What kind of likeness is that? If they were great artists, they'll be in a museum.
Evidence today may signal at least one.
I'm fucking fodder for cartoonists now.
And welcome back to Gutter Boys. Gutter Boys is a small press comics podcast about the ins and the outs and the highs and the very deep lows of making comics. I am your host, Cam, along with my co-host, JB. What's up, dude?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up? You're going to start doing that with your baby, right?
Yeah, definitely. This podcast is brought to you by Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
Two autistic motherfuckers. Today on the show, we have two guests. Writer and artist duo Henry Barajas and Rachel Merrill. They currently have a book coming out at Image called Death to Pachuco. We talk about that book as well as the process behind it, how it came to be, and we get into a lot of other stuff, but barely scratch the surface when it comes to their individual careers. So maybe in the future, if you like what you hear, we'll have them back for solo episodes. You let us know. But before we get there, we do have an announcement to make.
I'm gay.
Yes. So we are ending the show, folks. It's over.
Yes.
It's over. It's over. You've wondered. We talked about it forever. It's finally come. The show's done. It truly is done. You won't have to hear us again until November. Alrighty. So yeah, what's happened here is JB's got a couple trips to go on, and as JB mentioned, I am new to fatherhood, and yeah, so we're just going to take a little bit of a break on the main feed. We will be back at the end of October, early November on a regular schedule, just pretty much just resting for the month of October. However, for those of you that do need your fix, we are at patreon.com/gutterboys. 2 bonus episodes a month. So if you miss us in October, we will have a guaranteed 2 episodes up over there. We're not stopping over there because if you pay us, we owe it to you. So go ahead and subscribe. $5 a month gets you access to over 100 bonus episodes. The most latest was with Mark Kopernarov. We catch up with Mr. Eisner winner himself. And I will be sitting down with JB to talk about his experience at CXC and more over the past weekend. So if you want to support us and feed my baby and feed JB's premium dating account so he can have a baby.
Now, the moment I start paying for a dating account is the day I pack it in, I think.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it's way over.
Why would anybody even do that? Like, I haven't been on Tinder since like fucking 2015, and I heard that like they charge you for swipes now, which is insane. I mean, I guess it was only a matter of time, but I can't imagine wanting to swipe with randos so bad that I pay for that shit. But that's just me.
I would imagine their biggest demographic is like really down bad old guys.
Ah, yeah, and they got the money. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want JB to have a child, patreon.com/gutterboys.
Don't worry. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. All right. Well, we're going to get right into the interview. And Cam is just laughing for other reasons that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And yeah, when we return from our break, we'll be joined with Rachel and Henry. So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
A young man kidnapped and forced to become a Sicario. A disposable soldier in the wars of organized crime. A young woman kidnapped and trafficked. Her life reduced to a commodity in a brutal underworld. When their paths cross, they see a way out. Will they have a shot at survival? This is How to Disappear in Mexico, a mostly black and white 44-page comic book by cartoonist E. Esparza. A comic inspired by what may lie behind some missing persons cases in Mexico. The comic book is finished and getting released through Kickstarter, which launches May 14th. The digital version is just $2. What a bargain, right? The print version is $31 including shipping, and again, the Kickstarter launches May 14th. The pre-launch page is up now. Just look up How to Disappear in Mexico on Kickstarter.com.
Are you ready for a wild ride? Get ready to meet the Santos sisters. Two ordinary girls with an extraordinary secret. One day, while combing the beach in their hometown of Las Brisas, the Santos sisters discovered a pair of beautiful medallions. What happens next changes their lives forever. The medallions are imbued with the powers of a goddess, Madame Sosostris, and can transform them at will into flying, gun-wielding, mask-wearing murder heroes with hearts, if not gold, then at least candy. That's right, it's a mix of Archie Comics meets Love and Rockets with a healthy dose of kick-ass action. Join Ambar and Alana as they fight crime, date dumb guys, and, well, try to stay sane in a world of assassins, zombies, crazy ex-girlfriends, and more. The Santos Sisters Volume 1 hardcover from Fantagraphics is coming to a comic shop or bookstore near you on March 11th of 2025. Don't miss out on this Technicolor tapestry of irreverent comic book fun. Santos Sisters, because life's a beach until it's not.
Indy Northern Kentucky, or Inc., is the Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati area's only zine, alternative comic, and small press bookstore, featuring over 400 different zines, alternative comics, and small press titles. A creative space with supplies to ideate and create your own zines and comics, and an event space for your zines, comics, or book release or reading. For more information about how to sell your zines and comics at Inc., stop by IndieNKY.com. That's Indie, INDIESKY.com. Visit our new home in Dayton, Kentucky, and read what the cool kids are reading.
Underground Kingdom Comics Presents Romance is the third issue of a new anthology showcasing the UK's most exciting small press cartoonists. This 28-page A5 comic features cover art by Vincent Bell Robertson and comics by Lily Blakely, Adam Falp, and Anna Redmond, plus pinups from Kai Reynolds and Matt Greaves. Daredevils and Warriors wrote, "If you want to leave your comfort zone and are looking for thoughtful and original comics that have an edge without being edgy, then you should check out these UKC books." You can buy Underground Kingdom Comics Presents Romance now, along with the previous two issues, Horror and Crime, and Original Art, by backing our Kickstarter, which is live until Friday, March 15th. Don't be a cunt, buy a comic, innit? Hell yeah. Meow. Meow. Sid the Cat magazine is out now. If you've ever been to an amazing rock and roll show and thought, I wish I could experience this moment again, but in comic form, then Sid the Cat magazine is for you. Fiercely independent show promoters Sid the Cat have joined forces with comics journalist Andrew Greenstone to bring you an ongoing publication that documents the SoCal indie rock scene. This stunning 52-page full-color magazine features comics, articles, photos, and illustrations from a rotating cast of local illustrators and writers. It's a celebration of Sid's artists and venues and supports those keeping the bleeding edge of the indie music scene alive. Our first issue covers musical artists Big Thief, Illuminati Hotties, Mike Kroll, Fucked Up, Finn Lilly, Katie Kirby, Kate LeBon, Cursive, Christian Lee Hudson, No Win, and so many more. If you are a fan of comics, indie music, zines, rock reports, or community by the way of culture, order a copy now at sidthecat.com/Sid-Zine. Again, that's sidthecat.com/Sid-Zine.
Athenium Comic Art is an original art website for some of the best cartoonists in the business. They currently represent Remy Boydell, Marie Capelle-France, Nicole Gu, Jonathan Hill, Emma Hunsinger, Casey Nowak, Micah Song, and Tilly Walden.
Athenium Comic Art gives fans the opportunity to own original piece of art from their favorite comics and support the artists that they love. In their short time in business, they've already shipped many iconic pages out to hardcore fans across the globe. Don't miss out on your chance to own a one-of-a-kind piece of history. Check out their website, atheniumcomicart.com, and type in Gutter Gang at checkout to receive free shipping on your first order. Again, the website is atheniumcomicart.com, and the code is Gutter Gang.
Morning, Gary. Morning, Marianne. Need a menu? Nah, I'll just have the usual. You sure do love your eggs and coffee, Gary. Best way to start your morning, Marianne. Well, that and an issue of Town and County. What's that? Town and County is a new comic series written and drawn by cartoonist Alex Knoll. He's that guy that wrote them books about teaching and that Mr. Rogers feller. Oh, he was such a nice man. The first issue is 36 pages of black and white comic stories with beautiful color covers and features 6 stories about folks in our little township here in Illinois, like Susie Barber, the house cleaner that uncovers her client's dirty laundry, if you know what I mean, and Stanley Pepper, that big feller that just lost his job and took to drinking every night at Bugs's Tavern. Well, ain't that something? Town and County is published by Ivy Terrace Press, headquartered in Chicago. Chicago? Who would want to live there? So dirty. Each issue comes with a copy of the Hometown Hero, our little town's newsletter, and it's only $8. $8? Where can I get it, Gary? You can order a copy of Town and County on the internet at storeenvy/Alex Knoll Comics. Oh, there's your breakfast, Gary. Thanks, Marianne. Nothing like a cup of coffee and a good comic book.
Rust Belt Review is a quarterly comics lit magazine featuring serialized and short-form comics from some of the most exciting cartoonists in the small press scene today. Volume 1 features work from Gutter alums M.S. Harkness, Audra Stang, and Caleb Orecchio, along with work by Andrew Greenstone, Sean Knickerbocker, and Juan Jose Fernandez. You can order your copy of Rust Belt Review today by going to rustbeltreview.org. Enter in promo code GUTTER to receive $2 off your order. Again, that website is rustbeltreview.org. Promo code GUTTER.
The Last Aviatrix is a post-nuclear adventure comic by independent, Los Angeles-based cartoonist Buster Cagle. The story follows Summer, our last aviatrix, who pilots the sole-surviving airplane, a nuclear-powered B-29, as she travels the ruined world finding ways to survive and help humanity while dealing with the imminent threat of the Atom-born, a rare breed of atomic wizards that want to see her out of the sky. Her mission becomes complicated when she accidentally picks up Henry, an Atom-born child who wields incredible power, and Clementine, a berserker on a quest for vengeance. Can our aviatrix survive this ruined and irradiated wasteland? Every issue can be read for free on bustercagle.com/comics. Paper copies can be ordered as well, but, you can still read it for free. If you like wizards or warplanes, go check it out.
Now, back to our program.
And welcome back from the break. Today, we have 2 guests on the opposite end of the show, joined by the creators of the upcoming Image comic, Death Pachuco. It's out 10/8. We've got Rachel Merrill and Henry Barajas here. How are you all today?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Hell yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you all as well. So let's get right into it. In addition to the Image stuff, this is a second collaboration from you all. You all are also doing the Gil Thorp strip as well, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Been doing that for almost, did we make a year?
No, it's the end of this month.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So, obviously you all are working together and it's working for the both of you all. Are these the only 2 projects you all have collaborated on so far, or where did this relationship start?
Henry, you can start if you want, or I can. You're the one who found me. I feel like
I was looking for someone to work with on Death Pachuco, and our mutual friend, Frank, Godlewski reposted Rachel's adult romance short comic that was on Gumroad. And I was really impressed with how fearless Rachel was. And I was really looking for someone that could do blacks and handle adult subject matter. So she was on the top of my list, and I got the really distressing call that Gil Thorp, artist, after 17 years, Rod Wiggum was going to retire, which was something that I've really enjoyed working with him, and he's such an incredible craftsman, and he's best known for his stuff on G.I. Joe. And I talked to a friend who is also working on syndicated cartoon strips, and since I'm not drawing it, I needed to find someone that I wanted to work with. And Rachel was already on the top of the list, and she was thankfully really cool and responded really quickly and was able to produce art and character sketches that were approved by the Syndicate Tribune content agency. So after that, we just hit the ground running.
Hell yeah. So I do want to go ahead and, continue with the line of questioning about, like, we'll get into the image book, but while we're here, I want to talk about, like, the grind of a newspaper strip. Are you all running weekly or daily?
We're doing daily.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Monday through Saturday. I would love a Sunday. Rachel protests Sunday, as you could see. Our listeners can't. But we get to run on daily papers, which is, something that is a thing of the past. And we're trying to, we're luckily able to be on, next to Garfield and Peanuts and legacy strips like that. Yeah, Mary Worth. And I think we're very lucky to still be doing that.
No, definitely. It's such a cool gig because, like you mentioned, like, you're next to all these, like, huge titles. And in a way, it seems like as time progresses, the newspaper comic just kind of falls, more and more to the wayside. I don't know. Like, my local paper stopped printing some of the comics, which sucks. So I do like that it's still out there. And, the spirit of, like, the original formation of comics is still alive. Now, when it comes to working on something like that is a daily installment, what's the process difference like between working on something versus the new book, which is, a mini series that's more fleshed out in longer form?
Well, for me, I mean, it's you got to see the forest through the trees, and you really have to remember that this is for Gil, at least, it's about Gil Thorp, and you always try to, like, bring that home. And with Rachel, I can't imagine. I know in the beginning you had physical rejections to the schedule.
That's such an elegant way to put it. My butt broke because I was drawing so much and not doing enough stretching that I pinched my sciatic nerve. So I could not move, which is like an old people problem, it felt like. So I feel like my body has aged quite a bit. But, at the same time, I leveled up. It feels like kind of like when people talk about, like, doing punishing animation shows, and it's like the workload is so brutal, but then, you see yourself not to use a game analogy, but leveling up, like, astronomically just from putting in so much front work. But I do stretches now. I do my old lady stretches, so now my butt and my back are okay.
So when it comes to, like, lead time, how much time do you all have ahead of schedule before printing with Gil Thorp, rather?
We try to have a month.
Yeah, Henry's a bit ahead.
Well, I mean,
mocking me.
my physical, dedication to the strip is considerably less than what Rachel has to do, and because it's a syndicated strip and because it's daily and Monday through Saturday, I recognize that it needs continuity. So I'm always keeping, it's like a play. We're always going into very familiar settings. So we're always either at Gil's house, or we're either on a football field, or we're either in the office. So luckily, Rachel, with her animation experience and her, being as smart as she is, she knows that she has to establish these backgrounds. So we're not redrawing the wheel every single time.
Right.
So I try to be conscious of that and say, we're in this space on this day, you did this, just use that background, because that's what we're playing in this area. So
I think it also makes you just a better, I know we've talked about this before, but I think it makes you also, the time constraints make you a better storyteller. Like having that shorthand, like, okay, we're at Gil's house. It's not necessary to confuse the reader and draw 18 different angles of the same damn house. Just use the same house every time.
Like The Simpsons, like we know we're at the Simpsons house with that exterior shot. And that's what we try to do is have a level of continuity of places.
Right.
So that whether you're reading it for the first time or whether you're someone who's reading it all the time, you know exactly where we're at.
Hell yeah. Now, I don't want to get either of you all fired, but if it's okay, I want to talk about like the editorial process of a newspaper strip. How hands-on are the newspaper editors? This is like a nationally syndicated strip, so I imagine it's a little bit different than like working as like a traditional cartoonist for a comic company.
Well, luckily, Gil is, I think, now becoming more known and is in the conversation more. So now we have a little more, more dedicated. Like our editor is really cool and is really hands off, and it's very, very rare that something doesn't make the page. And at the end of the day, it's not our character. Gil is owned by the same people that own Dick Tracy.
Right.
So we have to respect their legacy. And we are pushing the envelope constantly. I mean, we just had July 4th, we were encouraged to talk about what's going on in the world. And it was very much like within an hour of me writing that strip, of me like having the kids talk directly to the reader, Rachel doing a great job with that after school special, kind of all the kids are together in front of the American flag. And we don't color the strip. It goes to Andrews McNeil. And they didn't color the flag. It was in black and white, like the Stankonia album, or like what you would see in like Donald Glover's.
That's definitely what they were going for. It absolutely.
Like This Is America kind of vibe.
Right.
And it caught fire. And so we're lucky that we get to say what we want, when we want, how we want. And, we've talked about bulimia. I touched on school shootings before Rachel jumped on, and now we're talking about transgendered athletes more now, and after having 2 years of a transgender athlete just being a kid and enjoying themselves in the strip. Now we're focusing on the fact that who they are is politicized and something that the sports world and various media organizations won't shut up about.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy too because, like, my family lives in Texas for the most part, and I remember when the Speaker of the Texas House basically went down his career because this was in the 2010s, that he wouldn't bring a bathroom bill up to the floor for a vote. He said, because he was a Republican, Joe Strauss, he hid behind the language of, it's anti-business for us to be bugging people, but he ended up he had to resign because Dan Patrick went after him for humiliating the lieutenant governor in such a fashion. And he said, honestly, because of my faith, I don't believe that we should be hurting children that way. It's none of our business. And this was like, it just feels like a really gross opportunity for bullies to just do what they like to do, which is to go after kids. And it wasn't even that much of an issue a few years ago. And I like that Toby and Gil Thorp gets to, for the most part, he's just a kid. And now because of the culture of like, hey, let's find new ways to terrorize children, he's got to deal with this.
It is interesting, the lineage of the strip and like the societal issues that it actually like tackles. I've looked at the stuff you've posted online, Rachel, and I looked at the strip, before, and you mentioned staying true to the source material, and it always did kind of tackle these like, with the character of Gil Thorp, it always tackled like, social issues starting in the 50s and so forth. So do you feel like you mentioned, before your answers there that you want to, I forget exactly your phrasing, but you have to stay true to the original source material. I feel like the stuff you're tackling is very progressive and I agree with it. Like, and you mentioned there was like not a lot of hands-on editing. Do you get a lot of pushback from some of like the shitheads out there with your subject matter?
I don't read the comments. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best thing to do.
This job is too demanding for me to bother. So if they generally don't even, it doesn't even come on my radar. So When I first started, a few reached out to me, and I just immediately blocked them. Like, I just don't even if they like try to word it in like, oh, I'm explaining something. No, I just immediate block. If you have some criticism of it, I'm just not gonna negotiate with that from a stranger.
Hell yeah, that's what I would do as well.
I was going to do a bit, and then I realized I'm too tired, so I'm not going to do a bit. Instead,
What was the bit?
the bit was so that I can complain that I have to pretend that I care about women's sports.
Oh,
So
right.
That would good. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, no, that's like the whole crux of the argument, right? It's like
Sure.
Yeah.
these people don't care about women's sports.
Oh no.
Let alone
Now they're
women.
like throwing like what dildos at the WNBA players.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like
insane.
it's like go back in the kitchen kind of crap.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the WNBA has been the punchline for so many sexist jokes about women in sports that these people were just like foaming at the mouth the moment they found out that trans people existed and were playing sports
Right.
too.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah, and what the advantage we have is Gil Thorp lives in the newspaper where these conversations are had. So it's not like we're forcing the conversation. If you flip the
Right.
page before or after, something about the 1% of trans athletes in the world, there is
Right.
just some anger or frustration, and like you said, there is just this misogyny and bigotry of anyone else playing sports other than men. So yeah, I mean we get those complaints and the go. I mean, where this strip also lives is GoComics.com, and they did a total revamp of their website, and a lot of the comments now get flagged. But before that, it was very just whatever, say whatever you want and whatever you feel about whatever is going on, and I welcome anyone who's either reading it for pleasure or hate, because that's how we get paid. The more times,
Yeah,
Sure.
thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for your hate.
yeah.
the more hate that we get, great, because we get paid, and that's all that matters to me. Is as long as people are clicking.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's like reality TV,
Exactly.
where it doesn't matter if you're watching it ironically or if you're watching it because you genuinely love the shows. The ratings still read the same. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep. There you go.
Whether we don't want people. We're not doing this to piss anyone off. We're doing this because we want to be proud of what we do at the end of the day.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. No, you want to tell stories that you feel are relevant right now, and they are, and people are going to be reactive about it. I don't think that now is like a particularly unique time in American history where people are just like being openly bigoted.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
You know?
it feels a lot like when I was like a teenager in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It feels so much like that. But the difference, I guess, now is one, I'm not as much. It's not, since I'm not a kid, it's not being directed at me. But back then, it was politically correct, and they would use the F word instead of like transphobic stuff. It was going after anyone who was perceived as not aggressively heterosexual, which could be even people who were heterosexual, but they were not.
Oh yeah, we had a term for that in the 2000s.
Coming across, yeah,
Metrosexuals,
and,
right? With straight guys
well,
who took a shower and like, oh, you're gay.
Yeah, that was awful.
For girls, you're just called a dyke and all the other stuff, and it's
Right.
like, okay, call me what you want. I'm still having sex with guys, but like whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, why do you have like all your friends are guys? And I'm like, because I like guys. I don't know what to tell you. But it's just it's the one thing I would say with the stuff with women's sports is back then it was so normalized in the general culture, because we had a general culture to scoff at women's sports. I still remember like where I was from, it was considered shameful for any man to follow women's sports. You weren't, there was like a much more general acceptance of hatred of women. And now, like, I have multiple family members of mine regularly follow the WNBA, which I think is partly why the backlash is happening, is because it has gotten so much more popular. My dad's a huge WNBA fan, and which certainly wasn't the case in the 90s and 2000s. And I think that's partly why this backlash has happened, is because of what small inroads have been made.
Absolutely. And the talent pool has grown because there's a legitimacy behind the sport now. People are taking it seriously. So, like, of course, competition is going to increase and you're going to get better talent over the years.
Right.
Like, that's just how sports works.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I'm not a massive follower, other than I love Bayou Bari because she's from LSU. And so, Henry, if we can ever get Angel Reese drawn into the strip, let me know.
Yeah.
Workshopping on the pod, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like to treat Gil Thorp like Scooby Doo. We had Taylor and Travis on the strip at one point, and they were telling the kids how to play football. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was on the strip, and we have fun. It's not all just the worst things happening in the world. I mean,
of course, yeah.
We had one of the coaches think there's a ghost in the locker room, and I think, yeah, everybody knows somebody that believes in ghosts,
right?
So that was my commentary on it.
Not in my America.
It's a ghost-free zone. The only ghosts are the ghost scene I do on my phone.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I don't think there's a slur for ghosts, are there? We have slurs for robots now, but we don't have slurs for ghosts.
Not ghosts.
Well, we can workshop that on the podcast. So much for progressive values.
Listen, I wonder if like people that are considered like leftists now, if like in 50 years we're going to be the old people that are like mad about robots taking jobs and calling them robotic slurs. It's just funny to think about.
What a nice problem to have, to imagine we'd be alive.
Right,
yeah. Or have jobs to compete for.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's get into the new book. Like we said at the top of the show, it's out on October 8th. I've already put it on my pull list. I'm looking forward to it. First off, I just got to say, crazy cover selection. Just like David Lapham, Katie Skelly, our buddy Ramon.
Yeah, shout out to Ramon.
Yeah, shout out Ramon. I love all the.
What's up, Stockton?
Yeah, shout out to Stockton, Katie, Lapham.
Yeah, great
Finnegan.
Choices.
Well,
did I miss one?
Yeah, Marco Finnegan. We got. I mean, the goal is for me, I want to buy covers. I want to make covers that are from people I want to buy from.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
no, those are like some of my favorite people in the game. So I want to ask you something about this, though. So one thing that, and I've alluded to this myself on the show, when I first came into comics, I would hire people to draw my covers for me because I thought that's how it was done. You go into the world of like mini comics, which Rachel, I know you've done mini comics where you do the cover of something. And Henry, I want to ask you as a writer, maybe it's just something like in the big two image system. Why is it that there's such an insistence? I mean, you all picked great. All the covers look great, but why is it that the cover art doesn't usually go to the interior artist? Do you all have any insight to that? And is that also weird for you, Rachel, to like take a backseat because you do your own covers?
Rachel. You should answer this question.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like as someone that like designs a book, like, when you do your own comics, Rachel, you're doing the covers and the interiors. So like, is it weird for you to like, pass off like the introduction to your book, which is a cover, to another artist now that you're working with a different publisher that kind of operates in that system?
Well, first I have to say, Henry has been since the beginning being like, Rachel, you're going to do a cover, right? You're going to do a cover.
It's like that that Padme and Anakin meme, like, oh, you're going to do a cover, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. So I actually have a plan. I do, but I'm like really hyper vigilant focused on staying on schedule for both strips. So that's like why I keep kicking the can down. But I will have to finally commit. No, I love seeing other artists. I feel like it's really exciting to see other artists, much better artists' interpretation of the characters that I got to design. So I'm finding it really exciting. I really especially like it when it's like a entirely different style, like Katie Skelly's doing this very like cute and sweet, very kind of dark story. I always liked it with Ava when they would do those promos of Ava, and they're all like just like having milkshakes together. There's like no death or robots anywhere. They're just all having like a nice time, and it's so incongruous with like what Evangelion actually is. So I like that in the covers when they're having kind of a nice time. But then I also obviously I love the ones that really go hard and kind of a more noir look, which is what we want. So no, I really love them, and hopefully I will get a cover in before we conclude the series.
Hell yeah. And Henry, I know you said that you just picked, artists that you would want to buy covers from, and I already complimented the choice there, but is there any kind of thought like from you as a writer when you're picking a cover artist to represent, because they say don't judge a book by a cover, but everybody does, let's be real. So do you have like different thought processes working with different artists when choosing the covers to your book?
Well, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's who couldn't you get? And
Right.
the bet, like, I'm very lucky that I've been in this business for so long that I have built enough goodwill that we got Tuolote, we're soliciting soon. Sweeney Boo, we're soliciting soon. Also, this is like a really rough market right now. And
Right.
as you can tell, it has become a cover market. We're not doing the blind bag variant program, which I'm kicking myself for, but at the same time, I don't want to contribute that much plastic waste to the world where I think it's a little irresponsible. I get why people are doing it, and I think it's a great way to get people to go to comic shops and buy comics or whatnot, or wherever they get their comics. But David Lapham was, and Rachel knows this, was originally supposed to draw the series, but due to things beyond our control, we had to pivot, and Rachel was number 1 and number 2. I originally didn't think Dave would even do it, but he was kind enough to go through the script and give me a lot of notes, and it's a completely different book than what we were originally going to go with. And Rachel was, I didn't even want to show Rachel Dead to Pachuco, to be honest, because I didn't want her to be behind on Gil Thorp. So I did it. I was like, hey, this is what I originally wanted to show you. And she was like, I'm going to do this too. And to find a collaborator and a partner with something that we own and we control is really important. And the other thing is, it's like covering a song. Like, I want their audience. I want the people that like David Lapham to read our book. I want the people that pick up Katie's work to pick up our book. I mean, Marco Finnegan, his Zoot Suit Lizard comic is one of the first Zoot Suit comics of ever. And the guy who has, did Calivera PI, who is in that space, it's important to get that christening from him. And Ramon Villalobos, I saw him at Cape and CalCon, and he said he was mad I didn't talk to him first, which he was a natural decision for someone that we like. His cover to me reminds me of like what kids used to draw on the south side of Tucson on their notebooks, and what you would see like on the hood of a lowrider or on the side of a laundromat. Just like that was the feeling I wanted to have with this series. But we're also trying to sell a book, and that's like the biggest thing that we're trying to do. And we're hoping that these logical decisions, but also passionate, and at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I want to buy these if this wasn't mine, and I hope that's what translates.
It does to me. And JB, I'm gonna let you jump in here, but I have one last question to ask about this before I forget. So I want to talk to you real quick because I know Image is putting the book out as a 5-issue miniseries to start. It originally started on Kickstarter. So how did you take it from crowdfunding to Image? What was that process like?
Well, I used to work at Top Cow Productions. I have 2 books through them. Helm Greycastle, which came out in 2021, did really well. And La Voz de Mayo found an audience with schools and libraries and that were reprinting. The sad explanation is a former boss of mine died. And she was someone who championed my work, and I needed to meet with Top Cow anyway about my existing books with them. And we had a lunch, and it was like, hey, that I originally sent this to them to pitch to do it through them anyway. And they were like, hey, your first book is successful on Kickstarter. Let's put it out. And it helps that we're coming into this in the black. Like, normally publishers take a risk on you and you're already in the red. They pay for the interiors, or you're paying for the interiors. Luckily, we had people, 300 plus people back us and give us enough money to pay everyone pretty good rates. So the existing connection I had, and the fact that it resonated with an audience, and the fact that Rachel's work is so strong, I would assume. But it's also just who you know, basically.
Yeah, that's what it always boils down to. Who do you know?
I mean, that's it's really that.
It really is the connections you make and luck.
Oh, for
skill,
sure.
Skill, of course, skill is required, but anybody can be skilled and toil away in obscurity.
Right.
100%. I mean, it also helps that Helm Greycastle debuted at 25,000 copies. It was the same week Stray Dogs came out. It helped that it had a role-playing game element when fantasy was really at its highest, especially since everyone was playing it virtually. I think I've learned that you got to be a sniper. You got to plant your flag. You got to wait for what direction the wind is blowing. And for me, this was something that I've always wanted to do in noir. And I wanted someone like Rachel to treat it like a noir because she's a huge fan of the film genre. But also, I didn't want this just to be a Mexican thing. Like, I didn't want this to be like, like it's Henry. He's known for all that Mexican stuff. I wanted people to like look at this and go, oh, that's a film noir, and that was really important. And Rachel has a love for fashion, and the zoot suits are like a third character in the book. And it was important for me to find someone like Rachel that could treat that just as important as anything else.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of the zoot suits, Rachel, what was your process in terms of like diving into that era of wardrobe and something that's so intimately tied to a population in that time?
I already was aware of the Zoot Suit riots. I'm a big history nerd, and so I listened to a few history podcasts. There's a really good one on iHeartRadio called Studying This in History Class, and I guess a few years ago they did one on the Zoot Suit riots, and it was very well researched. So I always had that in the back of my head, and I always knew a lot about World War II history, even like especially on the home front. It was pretty fascinating, and so was aware of that as a backdrop of like one of the crappier parts of the home front legacy during the 40s. And then my grandparents were very young in the 1940s in Baton Rouge. My grandpa was an avid photographer. So I had probably thousands, at least hundreds from the 1940s of him and my grandmother in their early 20s. They're not in zoot suits, but it helps give like a sense of like what normal people are wearing beyond like, a lot of the times when the zoot suits were photographed, they were photographed for like right-wing publications like Life magazine or the Los Angeles Times, which was a very big part of demonizing these teenagers. And I wanted to just look at, more ordinary people and how they photographed each other, while still staying true to like the actual silhouettes. But I was looking at a lot of like, if I could find family photos of Chicano and Black youth, that I liked more than like police photos of them being all beaten up and shit. There was also this photographer who worked in the 1920s in rural Alabama, from the 20s into the early 50s, called Mike DeSfarmer. And he's considered like one of those found artists, or like not professional, even though he was a professional portrait photographer. So I'm not sure why he's called that. But he photographed ordinary people who were not rich. And so as much as I, rewatch Double Indemnity basically every week while I'm looking at Pachuco, it's still like important to not only think of it in terms of like how Hollywood and mainstream media at the time portrayed people.
Yeah, that's interesting because, I think it is when you're doing research for something that's so specific like this, where, you're not creating something whole cloth, right? Like you're...
Right. I've always liked that more than like, as much as you admire fantasy and it does pull from other sources, I've always been drawn to the historical stuff. I like the research aspect of it and like seeing like, the past is another country kind of thing.
Rachel and I really hit it off with our love of Ken Burns and jazz. So we really are like doing our best to kind of give the most historically accurate historical fiction possible.
I just think the more research you do, the richer, like I read this really good quote, the more specific you are, the more universal the story gets. And I always really liked that. And I wish I had done this when we first started Pachuco, but like last month I found out you could access the Vogue archive for like a year if you just paid $15. And so I've just been going through Vogue from the 1940s, and it's just like so helpful, even though it's hoity-toity fashion magazine, but you're still seeing a much wider spectrum than like what your 2025 fossilized idea of what someone from the 1940s dresses.
It also helps because you're not just pulling from Google.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's gotten so AI crap too.
Right.
It's not a very reliable source anymore. So, which is like, it's fine. I've been on the internet long enough that I remember like the days of live journal and photo dumps, so I can go back to that.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Zero.
And as part of the research, How many times did you watch The Mask?
It's a long movie.
It is pretty long. It's like 2 hours.
It's too long.
I'm not
It's
sure if
like
I've
3
even
hours
watched
long.
it the whole way through, to be honest.
It's almost as long as his name.
I think my fiance maybe has seen it, but I don't think I have watched it.
I do want to ask one thing though. So when it comes to, we were talking about like you're designing these clothes and so forth. When it comes to your background in fashion, because any of your followers know, anytime there's like an award, I'm talking to Rachel here. Sorry, any of your followers know.
Oh, okay. You're not talking to me about, tip me while I'm talking about the New York Gala.
Fashion, No, so like, do you have a background in fashion illustration or something? Because you seem very passionate about it. You're always offering insight into like, red carpet events.
I've seen Henry's airplane style. It's pretty sweet. No, not really. I just have a lot of opinions.
Me too. That's how I do it.
I assisted for a while when I first moved to New York. I went through this I'm not really, I bought into a lot of the bullshit from the 2010s of like, this is what a comic artist is supposed to be, and bought into the bullshit. If you like fashion, that's not really a thing you're supposed to do, is do comics, because that means you're not. Just a lot of dark nights as well. So I worked in Michael Kors for a bit assisting, and I really hated every aspect of it, other than the fact that my boss, who was about as unqualified for his job as I was assisting, but we both had really strong taste in shoes. So we both really liked each other, and we both really hated anyone who worked hard. So we got along great, but we were both incredibly incompetent at our jobs. So that's why neither of us work there anymore. But it basically made me realize, working in quote-unquote fashion, especially in a design element, is not necessarily especially creative. And I was more actually interested in storytelling, and how one of the ways fashion is really helpful, especially for history, is to communicate what the values are of the time. So I'm on my red carpet bullshit. It's always interesting to see what is the story this actor or actress is trying to sell to the public and to the people that can potentially hire them, and what kind of endorsement deals are they looking for. And, I go really hard on people where it doesn't feel especially organic, and it feels like we're trying to get some Instagram bait, but not in an especially compelling way. But to be honest, I don't really know where it comes from. I mean, my mother was obsessed with fashion. I have very strong memories of Lady Diana, Lady Di magazine covers. My mom was a huge fan of Lady Di after she got divorced. We were very pro Lady Di divorce, very anti Princess Di style. Just the 90s, growing up as a kid in the 90s, the fashion industry was probably at its peak in terms of how it could set the tone for the culture at large. And then, as I got to New York, that was very swiftly going away for a lot of very good reasons, some not so much. And one of the things that's been interesting with the Vogue archive subscription is they did the promotion, I think, as a way to get people to read their crappy print magazine. And so now I get a print copy of Vogue every month, and it's just so pitiful to look at after you're going through what it used to be, And up until the 90s, I would say Vogue actually had a huge amount of illustrators. And now it's I open it up and I see AI illustration in Vogue. It's just
wow.
It looks horrible, as you can imagine, but, up until, I would say, the late 90s, they were using fashion illustration actually very extensively. And, a lot of, I think at least a few were also working in comics, too. So, there was, an overlap, especially prior to the 50s. There was more of an overlap than you would think.
Hell yeah, I'll have to check some of that stuff out. I really love, especially the older, classic, Vogue illustrations, from early on stuff. That stuff is just timeless.
Yeah, because they hadn't really figured out a lot of the photography stuff. So, but even when they were getting better with the photography in the 50s, they were still using a large amount of illustration for their work, especially when they were illegally copying French designs that they weren't allowed to photograph. They would have an illustrator draw them for their readers.
Hell yeah. So I do want to talk about process, and instead of if you all want to put some, individual, tidbits here as well, feel free, but mainly on the collaborative process of the new book. Rachel, you come from a world where you make your own zines and comics, and then also you're working with Henry here as a writer. What does that process look like? Henry, obviously it starts with scripting, and Rachel got to, do some designs that we touched on, but when it comes to what's the collaborative nature look like between you all? Do you stay pretty on script? Do you leave your scripts open for Rachel to interpret? What does that look like?
Yeah, she's not allowed to change a damn thing.
Hell yeah.
No, no, Rachel's great because, I mean, I learned this from, I'm a student of, I didn't go to college, so I studied comics. I learned that, the script is a map, and how we get to the destination is the most important thing. And, Rachel knows that she has freedom. And it's always nice when she makes a decision and goes, I'm doing this because of this. Or I'm changing this scene or this moment or whatever. But she understands the important parts. And that's important, because I've worked with artists who just do what's on the script. And then it shows you like, oh, I didn't really think of it that way. Or, and I try to do breakdowns, and I do that less now. But, Rachel's a co-creator. And it was important. And I stress this to her often. I'm like, this is half yours. You should be as happy with it as I am. And I think we always find a middle ground, and we haven't had anything that we like disagreed on, but we're both trying to get to yes, and that's the biggest thing, and there is so much more trust because of Gil Thorp. We're not, because Gil,
right?
Because normally I'd have an artist do breakdowns, and from the breakdowns we would, I'd change things, but because I'm so used to her just going straight to inks, midway through recently, we're just like, just go straight to inks. Because we don't have any notes. We have Will Dennis, who's the editor, who works a lot with Becky Cloonan and a lot of, amazing creators that I respect and admire. And Will was like, are you sure? And I'm like, trust me, we're just wasting our time not letting her just go straight to inks. And we have still yet to have any real substantial notes on things that need to be drastically changed.
I mean, one of the things that's been really cool working with Henry is I'll read the script or I'll draw something and we both were thinking of the same movie in the scene. We hadn't even discussed it. And I'm like, oh, this reminds me of this scene. And he's like, oh, that's what I was going for. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, we have like a lot of similar reference points. Like, we both watched the Ken Burns jazz documentary 8,000 times. And we both did that before we met each other. So it feels just very much like synergy that we were really lucky to find each other in terms of like our tastes and our sensibilities are very aligned.
And this is the first time I'm using film. A lot of the times it's art and comics, because I don't like it when I read a comic and I'm like, oh, this is just a movie,
Right.
I really want this to feel like a film noir in every sensible way. There's a lot of film noir references that were sent to Rachel. She didn't even need to see them because she already seen them. But also a lot of just like, this is, to me, like the closest thing I'll ever get to making a movie.
Until they hit us, Hollywood calls us for Pachuco adaptation. Fingers crossed.
And it just because I'm based in LA, I know nothing's getting made, and I know it's really hard, and everything's working against us on this because it's a period piece. So it'd be very expensive to get the clothes and the sets and the cars. And luckily, a lot of East LA still looks the same. It could be done. It's just we're doing it the way we want to and how we want to. And Rachel just keeps getting better. We're, issue 2. I wish we could have came out with both issue 1 and 2 at the same time. But, we have to wait. And hopefully people dig it and want to see more. Because this is, even though it's a 5-issue miniseries, it's a Ricky Tellez story. And we plan on doing a story in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
That's what I was going to ask is the future of the series, because I noticed the way Image will operate is they'll do like 5 or 6, and then they almost do it in like, I think they like to call them like seasons, quote unquote, is kind of like the industry jargon I've seen kind of thrown at that. So there is a future for the series that's being planned.
Yeah, it's very much inspired by Raymond Chandler's Philip Marlowe series.
Mm-hmm,
if you are looking for a noir to read, I would suggest picking up Raymond Chandler and his Philip Marlowe stories. It's very much that, just like every story is a time in his life. But I really would like to explore, in the 50s, we have a really cool backdrop where there was a really sad thing that happened to a bunch of Mexicans. And that is the goal. It's just to constantly kind of hint on different parts of Los Angeles that were very detrimental to Mexican people brown people, and there's just like there's an endless amount of story options with all the horrible things that happens in the city that LA loves to forget.
Yeah, of course. Hell yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I've already got it on the pull list, and it does make me excited to hear that you all have a future in mind for the series because, I mean, obviously the collaboration's working between you all. This is the second project. Are there any other projects? I mean, I hate to even ask that question because I know how long this shit takes, but do you all have any other collaborations down the pipeline that you would like to get started on?
I mean, Rachel is an incredible talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if she starts working with Scott Snyder after this or forgets who I am. I mean, I want to keep working with Rachel as much as she wants to keep working together. And I think, thankfully we have Gil, but I know she has some commitments after this. So I hope we could get started quickly.
Right. No, I mean, it feels like after toiling away in the self-published indie comic scene for almost a decade, it just feels like, they say, oh, you need is like one good thing to happen. Like my good thing was I met Henry. So I feel like my life has been totally transformed by working with him. People who would pretend not to know me at shows and tablings are suddenly like so friendly to me all of a sudden. They're so impressive.
Isn't it fucked how that happens?
I'm just like, none of us make any money. Like, why are we like doing this crap?
Yeah, the old ass story of like, it's the same $20 bill passed around between all of us.
So like, why are we like trying to put each other down? I don't, whatever. At this point, I used to have like lots of like fuck you energy, and I think I drew it all out with Pachuco. So now I'm just grateful. Before this, I was working with my fiance on a short film that we just shot some scan footage for. So that will probably be my next project after we wrap Pachuco. But I'm not saying no to more comic work. That's film. So that's like my one big film project. But otherwise, I'm ready. I'm ready when Henry wants to give me a call.
Hell yeah, that's what's up.
All right, yeah. Last question: what are your favorite film noirs?
Like, how many can I name?
Let's do 3. Top 3.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying Double Indemnity for Pachuco. Like, just no question. There's even like literal stuff I took reference of. I didn't end up doing it directly, but I ended up like sketching out a few stuff just because I just thought it does such a wonderful blend of real high stakes like darkness drama, and then it's got this like really like sweet friendship between Fred McMurray and Edward G. Robinson, where Fred McMurray keeps telling Edward G. Robinson, "I love you too." It's such a great. It's so perfectly done. It's so smart. After watching something a dozen times, you start seeing issues and still seeing no issues. It's like probably 24 times I've watched it since I got it when we started Pachuco, and it's just still an absolute marvel. The next one would have to be Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard, so 2 by Billy Wilder. Double Indemnity is a perfect movie, and somehow Sunset Boulevard's even better. It's better, and I don't understand how he did it, but he did it. Another movie that really just has such wonderful, beautiful inky blacks that I can get lost in that movie. And I guess the third would probably be a tie between. So sorry, I'm going to break this a little bit. A tie between Nicholas Ray's In a Lonely Place and Polanski's Chinatown. Both have just, incredible visuals. They're just about lonely people in Los Angeles, and I think that's also what Death to Pachuco is too. A mix of corruption, power abuse, and very lonely people. Very nice.
What about you, Henry?
Yeah, I mean, Double Indemnity, a Raymond Chandler story, and The Stranger.
It was actually a James N. Cain story, but
James N. Cain. That's right. That's right.
But then he was so delighted. He's like, "You guys have made my story good." So, yeah.
Yeah. No. I really like that movie a lot, and the book. The Stranger, an Orson Welles movie.
Oh yeah, that's been on my list for forever.
And I know it's controversial to say, but Chinatown.
I don't think it's controversial.
It's a great movie.
It's a perfect movie.
I mean, if you're Asian, I can see why you don't like.
Yeah, that's true. They have that scene. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess that's like sort of considered like a late noir
You could call it neo
like film
noir.
noir revival.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
it's. I look at that as like what's the Altman movie, the real famous one that's kind of
The
noir.
Long Goodbye.
Long Goodbye. Yeah, it's like that's kind of like on the end of like noir. It's like, does this count as noir?
It's one of my personal favorites. It's not a big inspiration for Pachuco because it's kind of an anti-noir to me.
Yeah.
But I adore that movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's so many well-dressed people in that movie. It's crazy. So many gorgeous costumes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You got one more, Henry.
Well, I mean, I really have to say Zoot Suit is a huge inspiration to the book. I mean, it's not a noir, but it's definitely, there would be no Death to Pachuco without Luis Alvarez's Broadway play, first Mexican American to direct and write and off Broadway, eventually became Broadway. Then he came to LA here in the Pantages. I actually am friends with a couple of people that were in the original 70s play. Also, we did a last year when we did a Kickstarter, we had 10 movies that we used.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Zoot Suit is definitely such a huge inspiration to all this. Like, it's if you haven't seen it, it's Edward James Olmos. He's the star and psychotic energy.
Yeah,
and it's a good encapsulation. Yeah, of what happened with the Sleepy Lagoon murder and the Zoot Suit riots. It's very much a response. Like Death to Pachuco is very much a response to that play, because the character is constantly asking questions about, well, who are you in this, and why are you doing what you're doing? And in a very like weird meta way, I wanted to answer some of those questions directly. Okay. So I encourage anyone to find it. You know, if you saw La Bamba, same director and writer, La Bamba. So yeah, no, I mean, Chinatown definitely a late bloomer, but I feel like that's what you think of when you think of film noir, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it wears that on its sleeve pretty
for sure,
clearly. Yeah. Speaking of Edward Olmos, that guy's in so many fucking movies, and he's always so good in everything he's in. And I'm like convinced that the only reason why people even remember that like 2000s run of Battlestar Galactica is because of his role in that series.
Yeah, his back must have been killing him, because he was carrying that show for a long time.
Right, when he really shouldn't have or needed to. Like he's he was an established name by then. So
yeah, no, I mean it's one of those things where it's good he got that opportunity to be in that many households,
yes,
for that time period, because I mean, unless you were a real one, you didn't really like, unless you're like Mi Familia, like real, Mexican.
I mean, I would argue that he was probably more of a household name after Selena than Battlestar Galactica.
But I mean, who came out of that was Jennifer Lopez,
Sure, yeah, of course.
So he was we're lucky. I think it's great he got that opportunity and got to be in a world that was almost exclusively white.
Yes,
and I think that was a good place for him to be, for sure.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to end it. But before we head out, where can listeners find you all online? Check out your work. Maybe even throw you a few bones by buying some stuff that you guys have out.
I mean, they can find us at their local comic shop on October 8th. And
what a flex.
Damn. That's such a Ramon thing to say. That's crazy.
Yeah, shout out to Ramon. He's looking good. And his cover's great. Oh, we're also going to be at New York Comic Con. We're going to be in Artist Alley.
Okay, yeah.
We'll also be at a Thought Bubble.
Oh, nice. Abroad. Okay.
Very good.
But I'm mainly, I mean, it's weird because like I'm so busy working on this comic. When I put my head up, I'm like, oh my God, a major comics editor is playing with AI. And,
oh yeah, we'll get into that on the news coverage of,
nice.
on the Patreon. Yeah.
It's just like, it's just funny. You're, like, I hate to even say where we're going, where you can find me online, because that's what you're going to see. But Blue Sky, just by my name, and Instagram. And I've had to go back to Facebook. Facebook is somehow turned a corner and is like,
really?
Oh yeah,
is it popping off again?
Yeah. It's popping off again. I mean, I think because Twitter died.
Yeah.
And that's where
people just got a yap.
Yeah, I mean, it's where people are. You know, I have to go where they are, and we have to sell this book. I mean,
where else am I going to post AI Jesus photos? You know?
Trump Jesus. Once again.
Yeah, we're also on group threads, and but mainly Instagram and Blue Sky.
Same for me. I have a really stupid username because I made all my accounts when I was 23. So it's OHHHABBB. So sorry about that.
Hell yeah.
But I made my bed and I'm sticking in it.
I like that you could have changed it, but you just stood your ground.
I have too many embarrassing photos of my 20s that are deep in that Instagram account, and I'll lose them. So,
right? Yeah, if you're tagged in them.
I refuse to do the whole I've never had an embarrassing moment in my life. I've never had bad work. Nope, it's gonna be warts and all an entire 15 years.
Nice.
Yeah, we can't run for office, so we're forced to do this.
Those are your only two choices: comics or presidency.
Yeah.
No, I guess I would say I'm a bit more qualified just because I think my reading comprehension is a bit higher.
It's a low bar, I feel, at this point.
Than mine?
Than anyone.
You just have to turn 40.
Yeah.
At this point, turn 40, and if you're an actor, it helps.
Yeah. Can you walk, sort of? Okay, fine. Here, whatever.
There was this debate in the 80s and 90s if actors like Robert Redford and Warren Beatty were going to run for office, and they kept hemming and oh, maybe, and it's why didn't you, goddammit? I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been as bad as this. So we got a reality star.
I mean, LA did get Arnold Schwarzenegger, after all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently he did an all right job. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well,
what did you say, Henry?
I mean, he helped contribute to the largest deficit in the state.
He restored the Democrats to an iron grip on power, from what I heard. He did
that's the
outstanding job.
That's the only pendulum.
Great for the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean the pendulum swing. I'm sure. I'm afraid to find out what's going to happen next when Gavin Newsom runs for president and probably wins the nomination.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm still looking forward to once again holding my nose and voting for.
Yeah. I can't wait for voting in opportunity for a mass homeless killing machine that they can just shove people into, while Gavin Newsom just cackles.
Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. But hey, we're at your comic shop October 8th.
Yeah, Escape from Reality on October 8th.
More importantly, if you want to think about dark shit, you can also give us some money.
Read about dark shit, like when sailors were beating and stripping Mexican men in the 40s.
Yeah, learn something, perhaps.
And speaking of other dark material, you can go and read Gil Thorp on Go Comics. So.
Yes, Gil Thorp, Monday through Saturday. Find out how we're kicking Gil down, only to prop him up.
Speak on it. Very nice. All right, well.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you both.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I would love to have you all both on solo so we could talk about your individual careers.
Sure.
And not do the so in the future, if you all are free, let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
Happy to have you back.
I think we did all of my career.
We can have you come back on with Ramon then, Henry, on the Patreon.
Oh no!
Yeah, you can cookie there. That's fine.
I'm tuning in for that one. I'm tuning in.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a Space Ghost call friend.
Yeah, Ramon. There is no one who can stand next to him. He is an absolute. But thanks for having us, and I hope to come back again.
Hell yeah.
Just a real quick Ramon tidbit. A little scoop for our listeners. He might be teaching at the community college soon, teaching drawing. And he tried to ask me, he was like, Cam, can you imagine what you'd learn under, my guidance? And I just responded, Columbine too. But only towards Ramon. Sorry. Okay. Sorry if that was a little too blue. Sorry. I said it to him though. That doesn't. Yeah. It was just bits. Sorry.
All right. If I have a career to speak on again after this, I'd love to come back.
There you go. That's the test. Yeah, that's the fire test. All right. Well,
we'll edit that out.
Yeah. I'm not editing shit out. What are you talking about? All right. Well, listeners, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, stay gutter.